Back to work. Weekend's over. Hope you guys had a fantastic Monday trading session. It's time to get back to work, though. It's Monday evening, the 11th day of April, 2022. My name is Joseph, and as always, welcome back to your nightly newsletter. Now, if you're watching for the first time tonight, it's great to have you with me. My job tonight is to help us find the best trades, setting up for Tuesday's trading session. I got a great video for you guys tonight. Charts are all ready in the background. As you can see, we got the S&P, got the Nasdaq, and we got the oil ready to go for tomorrow. Boy, lots of great trades setting up for Tuesday's trading session. Had some big moves, got some trading ranges. I'm going to break down all my favorite trades in tonight's video, so make sure you stay tuned for more on that. Before we jump in, though, and get our hands dirty, a lot of great trades setting up for Tuesday. I want to make sure to remind you, I post my best trade ideas every evening right on this video newsletter, so make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that little bell icon, set those notifications, because I don't want you to miss tomorrow night's video. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss all the good stuff on this channel. Also, any questions for me? Any questions? I do personally answer all the questions myself. Drop those questions in the comment section if you need help along the way. And if you guys enjoy the video, if you tune in every evening to get your mind right and those charts right for tomorrow, do me a favor, hit that like button for me here tonight on this nightly newsletter. So I appreciate you guys supporting the YouTube channel, but I'm a little bit late tonight. Busy day in the office, kind of a wild start to the week. Let's get this video going, though. Where's the money? What are we going to make our money here on Tuesday's trading session? Everything's pretty bearish. I'll tell you, everything's pretty bearish. We've got a bunch of big news coming tomorrow. We've got a lot of stuff that's kind of impacting these markets right now. S&P is bearish. Nasdaq is bearish. Oil is bearish. The S&P and the Nasdaq, they are kind of the most straightforward of the group. Big moves down today, so we're definitely looking for some chances to sell into some pullbacks right now. We have a lot of open space below us, so I'm also watching some breakouts as we go. This, of course, will apply both to the Nasdaq and to the S&P. I'm a little bit hesitant to want to buy the S&P and the Nasdaq. Just you'll see in a second here why the buy side here might not be the easiest side for tomorrow. We'll talk about some reversals, but as far as buying into pullbacks right now, you'll want to stay tuned if you're trying to buy these markets right now, because a lot of signs are pointing to, again, hopefully we'll get a pullback, but be careful being a buyer. We'll talk about that tonight in more detail on this video. And of course, oil, I'll tell you, oil is bearish right now, but a recent update from OPEC, and something's up. Something's wrong with this chart. This chart looks like it might be broken. Something's up here on crude oil. So I'm going to talk about why I say that and kind of what my game plan is to trade it tomorrow, because it definitely looks like something has changed on the crude oil. Definitely still bearish, but you'll see what I mean. Something looks like it's broken on the crude oil. So we're going to definitely talk all about that tonight and talk about how to capitalize, how to make some money on that breakdown here on crude oil. Again, we're going to cover all my favorite trades tonight, so make sure you keep on watching. Now, tomorrow get a big day tomorrow. Tomorrow is not, in fact, you could argue that tomorrow is one of the biggest days of the week. As we look at the schedule for tomorrow, Tuesday, April the 12th, we have two really, really big things going on tomorrow. First of all, CPI report. This CPI report, remember, CPI, PPI numbers, these are inflation numbers. They're talking about possibly an 8% CPI report year over year tomorrow, which would be another record-breaking inflation number. I know we all don't need the CPI to tell us that prices are pretty high right now, but this will definitely be something. What's most important about this particular report tomorrow is this is the last major inflation report, excluding the PPI report. This is the last major inflation report before we get the Fed announcement in May, right? First week in May. So if the Fed has any reserve, any inkling about not raising rate, you know what I mean? This you can imagine this will likely be the stamp of approval for possibly a 0.5%, a 50 basis point rate hike going April, or early May. So this is a really, really important number for tomorrow. tomorrow. And then it's not on this particular calendar, but we also have a really important speech from Brainerd tomorrow. The Fed's Brainerd, one of the Fed governors, is talking tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. So I'll tell you right now, tomorrow afternoon could be a really, really good afternoon session tomorrow afternoon, because if he's going to hear what that CPI report says, and then he might come out swinging tomorrow, tomorrow afternoon, 12:30, 1 o'clock, and he might say, yes, print it. We're gonna raise rates by 0.5%. Where there's a rumor right now they're gonna really bump up these rates here, and I'll tell you right now, that CPI report will be on everyone's radar tomorrow, and that Brainerd speech at a press conference. I think the Wall Street Journal's having some summit. He's one of the keynote speakers. So I would imagine those two numbers, 8:30. And 12:30, forget about barking after the close. It's all about CPI and my buddy Brainerd there at 12:30 Eastern time. Now, keep in mind, the markets are closed on Friday. And so we really have the next couple of days here, you're going to start seeing some scarcity come into these markets. I'm very optimistic for some really good trades tomorrow, Wednesday, and especially Thursday. Thursday's that retail sales report. We'll talk more about this, obviously, as we go later on in the week. But this is going to be a very, very good week to be a trader. It should be. We'll get that CPI report out of the way tomorrow. Will Brainerd light the markets on fire tomorrow afternoon? You better be paying attention tomorrow. Tomorrow's a day to make some money off that CPI report, and we'll be definitely watching this tomorrow in our trade room. Back to our charts, though, here. S&P's ready, Nasdaq's ready, crude oil's ready. Now, guys, whether you trade all of these like we do in our trade room, or you trade just one of them, or just two of them, I'm going to cover something new. You're going to learn something new throughout the entire video here tonight. I'll provide different trade variations, different setup ideas, different lessons to learn, different money-making opportunities throughout the entire video as we get deeper. And remember, I always try to save the best for last. So if you stick around all the way to the end, I'm going to definitely have a reward for you there at the end here, especially because oil has a really, really cool clue. I want you guys to see that for tomorrow as well. All right, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3 right on through it. Make sure you keep on watching, though. Let's keep going. How about some S&P? What do you think is the most important thing right now on the S&P 500? I would say there are probably, two really important clues. One is the sheer size of this move. Look at how big this move down. That's a big, big move in one day. Now, what do we always say? Whenever we have a big move in one day, we're obviously bearish, right? You guys can see that. Whenever we have a really big move in one day, we always expect to see either a deep pullback to attract more, in this case, sellers, or a trading range. The market kept on pushing down into a range, pushing down into a range. We may end up going into a range down here. Okay, that's kind of one thing. We know we're bearish. You don't need me to tell you we're bearish right now. What I want you to be kind of aware, though, is that usually whenever we see this big of a move in one direction, usually that means the following day, to attract more people into this market, we have to either get a really deep pullback, which I'm hoping for tomorrow, or we may see a trading range, because let's face it, with that big news coming tomorrow morning, with Brainerd speaking tomorrow afternoon, people may be paralyzed. People may not want to get out of their short positions. They definitely don't want to buy it, and so we may end up just trading sideways there. What's the second kind of giveaway right now? I think the second big giveaway is the fact that there was literally no pullbacks. You'll notice we had a big move down, didn't pull back. Big move down, little pullback there. They basically took out that breakout pullback off that prior low. But there's been no meaningful pullbacks here. And so that everybody who's looking at things, like a weekly chart right now, look at a weekly chart right now on the S&P and the Nasdaq, and you'll see that big run up, and you'll see a perfect 1, 2, if you watch this video every evening, you'll see this reversal set up. We have a crown reversal which is basically already triggered on the S&P and the Nasdaq. Open a weekly chart of this. So a lot of people came in and looked at this at that chart. They looked at this market. They wanted to short the heck out of this thing, but they never really got their chance to do that. So you have to think tomorrow that any meaningful pullback, any decent pullback right now, you have to think bears are going to see that as being their chance now to get in on that reversal pattern we see triggering on the weekly chart. I'll tell you right now, this is a very difficult market to want to buy right now, because as it goes higher, the bears want to sell off the, kind of the underbelly of this range, the top of that channel. The bears want to sell up inside this area, because look where we are. Look at this area right here. This is that big prior low. And so wouldn't that just be a dream come true for the bears to go all the way back up and start short into that 44, 45 area? That would really be a great treat tomorrow. And that's what, between you, me, and YouTube, that's what I'm hoping for. Hoping we can get this thing to pop up really deep here and short back down again. The bears can also use a range down here. A range is not a horrible part of this. If we see a range, we can sell above the top of that range. That's perfectly fine. And then as we go lower, there's still plenty of space down here. So there's no reason why we can't keep grinding down and then wait for that pop, tomorrow morning into that CPI report. That's very, very plausible for tomorrow. So I think the only way I would be comfortable right now being a buyer on this market would be after the sellers are nice and well fed. So for example, I would say we've got to go up, we got to get all the bears in, and we got to get one of those double bottom reversals off of that low. Because again, as it goes higher here, unless something really changes, unless the CPI report comes out really, really low tomorrow, Brainerd comes out and says, hold on, raise the rates back up again, we're back on, right? Unless something really drastically changes tomorrow, I find it very hard to believe that being a buyer up here, once we start getting proof of it just seems like you're walking right into a trap. Now, I do think there's options on the oil for that type of reversal, and you'll see why a little bit later on in this video. But boy, trying to be a buyer in this market, again, is it possible? Absolutely. Is it a great idea right now? It might not be that where the most reliable money is going to be. So let's talk about those pullbacks here right now. There are a bunch of different ways you can sell pullbacks like this. I'm gonna cover a couple here on the S&P. We'll cover a few more on the Nasdaq. Okay, so we'll keep it spicy as we go deeper into this video. Like I said, there'll be ways to learn more throughout the entire lesson here tonight. So obviously there's a channel right here. There's a big channel coming down. You've got all these prior areas of support which can be used as resistance. So I'm definitely looking forward to, as this market pops up, what I'd like to do is, if I can kind of get this to work here, what I'd like to do is try to rope in some of these buyers here. Get some of these buyers thinking this is a reversal. We've gone too far. They'll say, oh, well, okay, we'll see if we've gone too far. Let those buyers sort of buy into that pullback. Once they do, again, we're running right into major resistance here in a very strong bear market. Once those buyers commit, you know exactly where their pain is now. You know exactly where they start waving the white flag. And so at this point now, you can sell with what I call a failure pattern. I'm not a big fan of trying to pick that top. Okay, I'm a much bigger fan, especially for a new trader, to wait for that pop up, wait for the buyers to try to buy that pullback, and then think about it. If I was a buyer right now, where would my stops be? And then once I get that nice signal, then I can look for that failure pattern and sell it back down. Now, the bears, they want to get back down to retest that low. Now, your job isn't over yet at that point. When the moving average comes over now, that first pullback is also a very reliable setup. Okay, these have a name in our trade room. We call these failure into pullback combinations. Failure into pullback combos. This is great when you see a relatively shallow pullback in a pretty strong bear market. I'm going to talk about an even shallower pullback than this on the Nasdaq. Okay, there's actually one variation of this, even shallower, on the Nasdaq. You'll see in a moment why the Nasdaq's a little bit different here. Now, what I'd love to do is get a much deeper pullback here off of off this low, right? Really get up into this area. This would really make me happy here. There's probably going to be a little trend line up there. You know what I mean? There's a lot of levels of resistance there I could stack on top of this. Now, what's the difference here now? The difference is momentum. We're going to be great at, it's a great location to short, but now here's what you want to remember. And this is a really, really common scenario. Deep pullback. We're at a good area to get short, but the challenge now is now the buyers have a lot more momentum. And so what I'll do is I'll let them try twice. Let them try once, let them try twice. And the same idea now. I think about where are their stops, or as we always say in our trade room, where's the pain? Think about where those buyers have their stops now, where they're going to be in trouble, and we can then sell right into those stops. Now, this is where the fun starts. This is where the fun starts, because now it oftentimes turns into a free fall, okay, on the way back down here. So as we go lower here now we start looking for the next channel. We mark up that low. We connect those lows. Obviously, I'm just illustrating right now. Connect those lows. Bring it up around that big high, and then look left. I love to find these little prior swings. These are where the best trades are. This is the first time, as I always say, the first test of that channel. And I love to get things like traps, failures, pullback combinations off of that. Now, guys, I know most of you guys and gals have taken the free trading course. I know you've learned about the two try failures, the traps, the failure, the pullback combos, all the setups we use in our trade room. You've learned the rules. But if you're new here today, if you're here for the first time, or if you haven't taken that free course yet to learn what all the setups actually look like, what I'll do is I'll put a little pop-up here for you for our free trading course. If you haven't taken it yet, if you're like me and you hate missing a nice big winning trade, or you're taking too many losses, or you're making too many mental mistakes, if you're trying to make the transition from part-time trading to full-time trading, the roadmap I'll give you is what you need. That roadmap and that little pop-up there in our free course, it'll teach you the entire roadmap we use in our trade room, all the entry patterns, all the rules. You'll need to trade them on your own. And of course, I've got hundreds of examples of how we apply those entry setups to our favorite futures markets. You could apply that to any market, ETFs, stocks. It all works great. So grab that link. That way, the next time we say deep pullback, to try failure into that, what we call first test is the best test, that hidden channel first test, you're going to know exactly what it looks like. To try failure, and again, trap, failure, pullback, and we go back down to retest the low. Now, as we go higher here, how would I buy this? We would have to get up into this area, right? Get up literally into that area, hold that pullback, and show proof of that reversal. That's much more likely on the Nasdaq. So we'll grab a look at that in the Nasdaq. We'll talk about how that reversal might look here. What if we go sideways here? Because again, it is somewhat likely that we go sideways here because of the size of this move here. If we go sideways down here, what you just want to remember is, and there's some variations of this, we'll talk about this as we go deeper into the video, but as we go sideways down here, what you want to start remembering is that this range becomes a magnet. Okay, so then what we want to do is find those levels of resistance above the range, and there really isn't a lot that's different. Just wait for the pop-up, wait for the breakout. Do not get this confused with a reversal. Okay, oftentimes when the market slows down and goes sideways, and then it oftentimes jumps back up, it'll surprise people and say, oh shoot, something must have changed. It must be reversal. Let's go in and buy that first pullback now. No, do not fall for that trap. Okay, this is a trap you need to learn to avoid. Let some other poor buyer, let some other sucker, other, inexperienced trader buy that pullback. And again, think about where those stops are, and we'll sell right back down into those stops. 90% of the trades we take when the market has a range are going to be patterns like this, where the market will break out, the buyers, in this case, will try to buy off the moving average, and we'll sell it back down into that trading range. I'm going to talk about a few more of those variations as we go deeper into this video, so you better keep on watching. What if we grind down here? What if we grind down? It's a very good question. This is also very likely. Again, we've got a big open space down here. And again, keep in mind, this will also apply to the Nasdaq as well. What if no range, right? What if we start to grind down? Now, I know a lot of you guys know I love it when I see this happen, okay? Because these kind of pop and grinds, they're money, baby. Mark up that low, bring it right up around that high, and then your job is, as we start to grind down, wait for that pop up. If we get lucky and we can get above a prior swing, there's your trap. Okay, there's your trap. Your buyers come in, they try to buy it. There's your failure. There's your pullback combination as we go lower. Okay, again, get up above prior swings. That's where the big money is. Traps off the top of that channel, right? Trapping those buyers, trying to buy off it, sell into their stops. And then before we retest those lows, grab that pullback combo and be aware, sometimes we don't get that pullback combo. Sometimes it'll just drop like this. And if that's the case, wait for that trap, because it'll almost always come back to a trap above that high. Okay, so trap above the big high, failure off the moving average. And again, if we don't get that pullback to the moving average, watch that little trap entry above a prior swing, that we're not selling too low as we go. All right. How about that? I'll tell you right now, screenshot this one. This is something you do not want to miss. And again, it may not be tomorrow, but this pattern happens over and over and over again. What a beautiful setup that is as we go. All right, guys. Now, what if we collapse and really run lower here? We'll talk about that. Let's keep it going. Let's go to the Nasdaq here. We'll talk some more variations of this because, again, a lot of the S&P and Nasdaq is very, very similar. Let's keep going here. Over to the NQ. Here. Nasdaq, you'll notice, is very similar at first glance to the S&P. But one thing, boy, you'll notice there's some definite big differences. What would you say is the biggest component right now on the Nasdaq? Well, one thing you'll notice is it's not as pronounced as the S&P, this move down. You know, go back to the S&P for a second. The S&P made this big move down, and then look at the strength of that move, almost blasting and holding into a new range down here. It looks like the S&P is completely disconnected from that trading range, doesn't it? It does, doesn't it? So if you look at the Nasdaq right now, the Nasdaq doesn't look like that. You know, what we always say in our trade room is that think of a trading range. It's almost like it has a magnetic field around it. The size of that trading range can be used to find the buy zones below and the sell zones above. So see how the Nasdaq right now, we're kind of still inside of that green rectangle. It's also the 14,000 big round number. To me, what that tells me is we haven't quite had enough thrust outside that trading range. You know, almost like a rocket ship. You know, when Elon Musk and SpaceX or NASA or whoever, right, these days, there's a bunch of companies now putting stuff into orbit. But how do they get it out of the atmosphere? They have to get those rocket boosters, you know what I mean? And they have to blast out. It looks like the S&P was successful with that. It does not look like the Nasdaq quite yet has that. So in my eyes, the S&P is a very strong. So is this one. This is a very strong bear market too. But again, I think this range is a little bit more important. You know, for example, I do not feel comfortable selling a breakout pullback on this range right now. On the S&P, I do. You know, I think there's money to make on that shallow pullback on the S&P. This seems to be just a little bit too aggressive, doesn't it? That's one big difference, I think, that really kind of parlays into everything else that we have here. Okay, so bears have control of this. There's no doubt about that. But the case I'm trying to make though is at this point, we're going to measure the amount below the trading range, bring that above the trading range, and now this is where things start to come together here. I have a trend line above, I have a hidden channel above. You know, I would think this would be where the best short's going to be here on the Nasdaq. Now, you could also argue, well, wait a second, what about this channel here? This channel is pretty good too. So like I said, I will give you, we'll talk about that. The bears want to sell there. The bears would love to sell up top here. And again, just like the S&P, we do have open space below us. So if we do end up going lower here, I could easily see us adjusting this and shorten this thing on the bounces as we go. One very interesting part of the Nasdaq, as I mentioned on the S&P, if you go to the weekly chart right now on the Nasdaq, you're going to see a huge crown reversal off the high. And if you look at the weekly chart right now, everything pretty much points to 13,000. Now, obviously 13,000 is a ways below, right? It's 1,000 points below here. But again, we have to see a very convincing situation right now to want to be a buyer in this, which, hey, with everything going on right now in Ukraine, with the Fed, it's not impossible. Like I said, if the CPI report comes out surprisingly low tomorrow, something good happens in Ukraine, we could see like a excitement rally. We definitely could. So, I'm not saying it can't happen, but all things equal, unless the clouds start to part and everything starts to get sunny out there, I'd be very careful being a buyer in this market, except for, again, I'd have no problem with like a double bottom reversal here. Okay, so we'll talk about that. This will also apply to the S&P as well. Okay, how do we buy it? How do we sell it? Let's talk about some pullbacks here. We talked about a couple pullbacks on the S&P. One thing that we'll see different on this one, there's that channel. And again, it's such a bear market, we didn't really get much of a meaningful pullback here. So in all reality, we may end up getting that short off this little channel high. Here's the problem though with this channel. It's right in the middle of this trading range. So whenever I have a bear market and I don't quite get where I want to get in, you know what I mean? Remember, we have to take what the market gives us. I can tell you guys all evening long until I'm blue in the face, we're waiting for 14,160. We're waiting for that. But in all reality, do I really want to skip that shallow? No, I don't. So I want to be ready for that. So as we go higher here, what's the problem here? What's my concern? What would you say is the biggest threat to that trade working? It's too low. That's the biggest problem. So there's one of my entry setups, which you guys learn in that free video class I mentioned earlier. If you haven't grabbed it yet, grab that link in the upper right-hand corner there. It's called a trap. And traps are your bread and butter whenever you're concerned about selling low. So what do? We wait for the buyers, in this case, to try once, try twice, and there's that trap. So anytime, this is not just for the Nasdaq right now, but anytime you have a situation where you're concerned about selling too low, a trap setup is a great solution for it, because this is exactly the scenario where you use it. We're very bearish, but there's some clues right now that are telling us that we're probably better to get it off the highs here. But again, if we don't get it, we don't get it. So I get that little trap set up right there. That's a good one as we go. What I'm hoping for is to get that same type of deep pullback that we saw in the S&P, which is that, not saw in the S&P, but we're kind of fantasizing about on the S&P. I love how this area sets up, this big channel sets up. Yeah, I just like this whole area here. The big giveaway is the pendulum swing. The amount below the range is the amount above the range. That's a real big giveaway as well. Now remember, this is a really great place to sell short. What's the problem though? Momentum. Anytime we go from below a trading range to above a trading range, we call this a rotation off the low, and that means momentum is a little bit too bullish as we go higher to be too aggressive. So what I'll do is, again, same thing. Once for the buyers, twice for the buyers. Let them try twice. Once they're in, think of what the stops are, and then you got it. Same idea. We're selling right into those stops. And then again, what I always do is I always like to pay real close attention to those little swings, draw my trend line nice and tight off that low, bring it up around that big high. And again, the one I like the most is when we go just a little bit above a prior swing there with that trap, that failure, that pullback combo. To try failure off resistance above the range, above the channel or off the channel. And then again, trap, failure, pullback combo. I'm just simply scribbling the chart right now, right? Just drawing the chart right now. You can see a lot more examples of that in that video course I mentioned earlier. Where's my target? Back down to that low. Okay, now at this point, can I buy down here Yes. Well, let's put it this way. We can, but we have to do it safely. This is the thing about the S&P, the Nasdaq right now. Again, if you're a bull on the E-minis, go look at the weekly chart right now, and you'll see on that weekly that big pop up, that 1, that 2, that little trap high, and it doesn't look good to be a buyer on the long-term chart. Again, could that change? Absolutely can change in an instant. But as of right now, they'll be very careful being a buyer in this. So let's say I'm definitely not in the mood right now to try to pick a bottom right now. That would not be appropriate for this situation. What is appropriate, though, would be because we get a range. If we were to go up, right, back down again, retest that low, right, take out that low. Now the sellers are happy. They got fed. They take their profit at that low, and let's now see if we can rope in those bears with a 1 try, 2 try failure. This is the same exact setup look for on the S&P as well. What I really love to do on this one is to get one of those trap entries where you get just underneath a prior swing. We'll talk a lot more about this particular variation of it, where the bears try once, bears try twice, and that trap. This would be the one that's most bulletproof to be a buyer off of that low. Again, get the bears fed. Get the bears their money. They want their money. Let them get that money out of that bounce. Get back down to retest that low. Once they take out that low, now we start seeing if there are some aggressive sellers who are selling into those lows. At that point, there's no reason to be selling down there. We should be selling way up here. We don't sell low, we sell high. You guys know that, right? So we're looking for the bears to try a couple times. If we can catch them on, again, getting short in those lows, we can use those exits, their stop losses, to fuel this thing going higher. Where are my targets on this? The targets are pretty easy. Other side of the trading range, and then pendulum swing, right? Pendulum swing, back up around that area there. Okay, I like that long. But be very careful, though. Be very careful. In a lot of situations, I will try to get that 2 try off of that low when I have a range environment. But again, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. That inflation number is scaring the you-know-what out of these markets here, obviously. So be very careful to pick the bottoms on this market. What if we go lower here? Let's talk about breakouts, because this is definitely a market that could be ripe for a breakout. Like I said, look at that weekly chart, and you'll see everything wants to go to 13,000 the next couple of weeks here, or maybe all tomorrow. We'll see. Here's obviously some more to think about here in the Nasdaq. As we go lower, let's say we grind down. We talked about this one already. We mark up that grind low, pop around that high, find those prior swings, grab that trap, get above the moving average, grab that failure, that pullback combo. Now, again, where would our target be on this? We know kind of where that next big level is, that 13,858. Here's an easy way to think about it, though. The size of that first leg is almost always the size of the third leg. Okay, the middle leg is often the oddball. We see a lot of times where a market will go one big leg down, a kind of a weird middle leg, pull back, and then a symmetrical third leg. Right, where again, with the first leg and the third leg are symmetrical. The middle leg is the one that's oftentimes either much bigger or much smaller. So I don't even mess with it. Okay, all I care about is to measure the size of that first leg and last leg. So that technique can be used here, over here, where we already have that first leg down. If it grinds down, it pops up. You know now how big that third leg is going to be. Okay, here's one more I would think about here on the Nasdaq, and that's called a 2 try breakout. Now, 2 try breakouts are really, really common. We saw a couple of them today. Anytime we see a strong move in one direction, in this case lower, we see a shallow pullback and a lower low in price, you're going to see a lot of bears waiting right above that prior swing. Okay, we call these 2 try breakouts or 2 try traps. And you'll notice right here, right? Strong move down, shallow pullback, lower low, trap. Right? You'll see right here, strong move down, shallow pullback, lower low, trap. This is, again, very common. What you want to be avoiding is this one, strong move down, shallow pullback, higher low. No. That is not the same pattern. Okay, be very careful on those. Okay, so as we go lower here, right, or if we go lower, let's say we do break down here, strong move down, shallow pullback, lower low in price, trap. Okay, and this will have some personality to it. It'll that move lower, it'll feel like, shoot, I'm missing the boat here. It'll feel like there'll be a bunch of FOMO, going through your veins when this thing pops and runs lower. All the Fibonacci traders are going to hate that pullback because they're not going to get the shallow pullback they want. They're not going to get that golden ratio pullback they want. That lower low will confirm that's not a V bottom. See, oftentimes what happens is, how many times do we see stuff like this where we get a strong move down early, it comes right back up again? Okay, that's how you avoid those V bottoms like that, is you wait for that strong move. Again, we don't sell that first pullback. We wait for it, make that shallow pullback, that lower low, and then right there, everybody wants that trap. Right? It's a FOMO trap is what it is. It's everybody saying, shoot, I thought I missed it. Okay, right here looks good. And so we know kind of where this market wants to go at this point. I want to take out some of these big lows down here. Okay, these go way back. Yeah, way back. This 858 level, that 858 level goes back to pretty much a month ago, which in the financial markets is a lifetime at this point. So we definitely have that going for us as we go. And at the same time too, remember, just the S&P, if we do end up going sideways down here, which is very likely, especially around 14,000, big round number, and ahead of a big news report tomorrow, think about, where do I have levels of resistance overhead? Wait to get that nice, again, don't try to time the short. Okay, that's a little more difficult. Wait for that pop up, wait for those buyers to come in, and then once they commit, we can sell right back down in. The key is, once you see that trading range, what I always do is look left and go, okay, here's resistance. And I literally start to aggressively find levels of resistance. I don't try to, what you don't want to do is look for the trade and then try to justify it off levels of resistance. Find the levels of resistance above first, and then stay patient and get up in that area, and then get those shorts off of that high. And again, I know I'm going kind of quickly right now, so if you want a full breakdown of these setups, again, make sure you grab that free trading course, or just come trade it with me in the trade room. I'll tell you, there's no better place to learn and earn and have fun with us. We have a great time to get in the trade room. You'll love it. All right, let's keep going here. Wrapping things up here on the crude oil. All right. I think I baited the hook pretty good here on the crude earlier on. Something's wrong with this oil. You see what it is? If you can tell what's wrong with this market right now, right? You better be subscribing. Hit that like button. Give me a hashtag, right? Give me a hashtag failed rotation in the comment section below, because that's exactly what's wrong with this chart right now. What is going on with these bears? We should be at those lows right now, right? What do we see here on the crude oil, right? Crude is bearish into a range, but it definitely looks like the bears. What happened? We get that big move down. We're going into a range. We pop up. Beautiful place to get short. We were selling into this today in the trade room, right? We're looking for those shorts because again, it's a range with resistance above. But as we said in the trading this morning, once this thing gets back into that trading range, why aren't we continuing? Right? We should, at the very least, we should have easily taken out some of these minor lows, and that's where I could see justifying that buyers would come in. So something's up right now. Something is definitely up. Now, maybe it's the fact that we heard from OPEC a few hours ago, and OPEC said, well, we've got some new sanctions that are hitting Russia, and that's going to take 7 to 9 million barrels per day out of circulation. Maybe that's what's wrong here. Well, they've been locked down in China for a while. Right? Have you seen the headlines on that? So I think it was Beijing is still under lockdown right now. So maybe there's some COVID improvements going on. I didn't see any headlines today regarding any good news regarding COVID. I saw that there were some new cases coming out in places like Philadelphia here in the U.S. So if anything, it sounds like COVID is making a bit of a comeback. Now, whether or not that really means anything, I don't know. Right? But you would think though that if China and their issue with COVID right now, if that was getting better, you would think that might produce a bit of a reversal, right? because you let a couple 100 million, people out of their homes, and they're gonna consume some crude oil. So I didn't see that on the headlines here today. What I did see though was the Russian sanctions. Now maybe you're going, well, wait a second. I don't know. Look, we're right at a big low down here, and there's a range up here. I mean, come on. Maybe this is the range. We made that big move down. We bounced off that low. That's got to be it. But still, though, this is a really big move down. That's a really strong move down. It's not very common that we see a market just sit like this. Not when we've got these lows down here. So, you never really know exactly why the markets move the way they do. We kind of make educated guesses on it, but something's up with this. Something's definitely up with this. And so the bears have control. There's no doubt about that. I'll tell you right now, though, we got to be a little careful selling into this area up here. If we go higher, I do still think though, there's some money to make. Shorten back down again. We're going to have to use that to try failure, though. That is for sure. I do think also too, there's some money to make to the buy side up here. Okay, the buy side, I think, has some potential. Now, we'll talk about that here in a little bit more detail in a moment. And I really like the buy off this low, because this will be a big, strong move down. Let the bears make their money the way lower, and we can buy it right back up again. And then one thing about a breakout on this, there's a lot of open space on the S&P and the Nasdaq for a breakout, but you'll notice there's March's major lows there at 92.10. I'll tell you guys, this is like the kiddie pool turning into the deep end right here. Look at this. It gets really it drops off real fast. The next level we have, 90 is an obvious big round number there, but I'll tell you though, this looks very forgiving. It's really down to 80, 85 before we really ever start seeing any meaningful support levels down there. So you could also argue that, if you're a buyer of oil, if you're somebody who really profits from being long on oil, you get some big pockets, some really deep pockets. There could be some buyers here that are really defending this area. Because when you look at a bigger time frame chart, you'll see there's a ledge right below this area here. So, there could be a combination of that. Big players in the market who benefit from having oil prices being high. They could be coming in defending this. It could be a bit of that when we're at OPEC here. Does it matter? Does the why really matter? It doesn't. The why really never matters. All that matters is the when and the where. So where's the best trade here for tomorrow? Well, I'll tell you, I like the short side as we go higher. You could easily argue that there's a range back here. And so, again, the market may pop up, back down again, may pop way up, back down again. No matter which one of these trades we get, or should I say, no matter where this thing sets up, I like the idea of taking out this high, getting those buyers trying once, twice, bringing it back lower, grabbing that first test is the best test. I like that setup off the high. Again, buyers try once, buyers try twice, selling that try failure. And again, this could be a trap, a failure, a pullback setup. I like that short. I also think, too, if we can get a relatively strong pop-up, if we can see a shallow pullback and a higher high in price, I think it's very likely we try to make a run back up into that 99 area. Again, there's a range. Try to rotate there. This is last week's closing price. Oftentimes acts like a magnet. We never even came close to coming back earlier in the session. So I like this little try trap as we go. Right, I like that try trap. We talked about that a little bit earlier on in this video. And I would also say too that I like this reversal as well. This 1, 2, 3 reversal here. Now we talked briefly about this on the S&P. Remember, it doesn't matter how strong that first leg is. You'll see a lot of times in ranges where that first breakout leg is very convincing. Look back here, very convincing. But again, if they don't hold that pullback, it'll go right back into that range. If they don't hold that pullback, it'll go right back down into that trading range. So as we go higher here, no, I'm not interested in buying that first pullback. I don't care what clues there are. It doesn't matter that something's wrong with the bears here right now. We're still a bear market. So I still have to wait for those buyers to rip control for these bulls, right? I'll believe that when I see it. I'll believe that when I see it. As we go higher, I'm going to mark up that high. I'm going to mark up that low. And again, I've talked about this to the bear side, but I like that little trap below prior swings, get that failure, that pullback combination, first leg, third leg, okay? That's your targets, right? We talked about before. So first leg, third leg. Now, let's be realistic with this setup, okay? Let's not get too foolish here. If this market runs up, pulls back and blasts higher, probably not as good of an idea to buy that pullback right there. So just be aware of your surroundings. That 98.50 area to 99.25 area, this is a major area. In fact, we may end up just bouncing literally off of this area for a while. You know, it may roll all the way up, sell back down again, roll all the way up, sell back down again. That may be the case here until we kind of get this pandemic fairly kicked, and start moving forward here without having these lockdowns. I don't know. So that's something to keep an eye on as we go. And again, if we do end up getting up around these highs, it's exactly where those 1-2 failure into that first test pullback, this is exactly where that combination works really well. So just be aware of that as we go. Be smart. Think of it this way. The higher we go, the more sellers are going to be getting in. So I'm going to grab my long trades quickly. If for some reason it just simply spikes up like this, just be aware. It's going to be very difficult to find a way to buy that pullback. Okay, there are more ways to do this though. Let's say, for example, we take out that low. Lots of support down here. Okay, what do we do with these lows? Again, we've got a real strong move down, so we anticipate at some point, anytime we see a strong move in one direction, we anticipate a retest of that area. So if we do, and I want to be a buyer down there, what's the pattern? The pattern has to be a 2-try failure. It's got to be, because we're so bearish. Okay, I know we're at support below a trading range. The range is a magnet. This is exactly where you've got to respect those bears. Like back here, strong move down. Bears try once, bears try twice. That's the better trade, right? Rather than trying to force that first one and taking a bunch of heat. You know what I mean? You're going to see a lot of that around these ranges. So as we go lower, rope in those bears. Get those bears trying once. Get those bears trying twice. If we really get lucky, there'll be like a trend line to trade off of, or even better, a trap line to trade off of with that 2-try, that 1-2-try reversal. Okay, now keep in mind as well, if we get that up here, 1, 2, and come back down, because we're so bearish overall, that's exactly where you get that add-on. You know what I mean? These are where the best trades come when you're going with that momentum. Same 2-try failure, but then I can add on to it off the top of that channel. On the reversals like this, it's not so easy. Okay, because oftentimes the trend line coming down, it's not as easy to grab that follow-up trade, so grab it nice and low. Now, what if we break out going lower here? What would a breakout look like? Well, again, we've got to get below that 92.10. I think what is most likely to be a breakout here would either be a pop and grind, which you know I love me some pop and grinds. So pop and grind down, pop and grind, draw the trend line off the low, up around that high, get again up, ideally above priority swings. You guys know this already, right? Trap failure, back down again. First leg, third leg, right? This is nothing new here. I also think too, a move lower, right? Take out the pendulum swing, get into this area here, and then again, let's say COVID's back, lockdowns continue. They're gonna raise rates with bad inflation number, right? Everything's falling apart, and the market jumps off that moving average. Again, didn't do it here. But if we can get those bears to jump off moving average now, what do? You stay patient. You You mark off that low, you find that new channel, you look to get back off the highs here. If I can get above a prior swing, money, right? That's where the good stuff is. Above that prior swing, great trade. Okay, above the moving average, just as good. Find those buyers getting in, trying to buy, and we'll sell them those stops. Okay, trap pattern, failure pattern. You'll see a lot of examples of those in that free trading course. All right, guys. So make sure you grab it if you've done already here. And I'll tell you right now, if you're still watching this video right now, I really am proud of you. I commend your dedication. A lot of folks wouldn't be watching this late in the video right now. If you're watching the video right now, do me a favor. Let me know, why do you trade? What's your trading goal? You know, I would love to know in the comments section. I would love to know what really motivates you, because this is not an easy job. You know, trading is a great business. It's not an easy job. It took me a long time to learn these skills. A lot of painful experiences, expensive experiences, and I'm hopefully trying to help you work around those so you're not going with those painful experiences. But what is it that makes you want to trade? You know, do you want to pay off your house, new car, pay off some debt, put the kids through college, quit your job? You know, I help a lot of my students transition from working full-time to trading full-time. So a lot of my students, a lot of our clients, that's their goal. You know, they want to fire their boss, quit that job. What about you? I want to know. Inspire me. What gets you up in the morning? What makes you watch so late in this video right now? Because it really gets me going. It gets me excited whenever I think about helping people achieve life-changing goals. So let me know in the comments section. I'd love to know. And while you're down there, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. And in the description of tonight's video, I'll have all the links you need for our trade room. We open up every morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time, and I'll put all the membership links, all the free course links. I'll put that right in the description of this YouTube video. Grab the free course, start there, learn the basics. Don't take too long though, because the good stuff is every morning in our trade room, 8 o'clock Eastern time. I'll put in all the info right below this video tonight in the description of this video. Don't forget, I'm always here. If you have any questions along the way, don't be afraid to call the office. I'm always here. We got live chat you can always use as well. And you can also ask questions in the comment section below. All right, guys. Thank you so much for sticking around tonight. I know it's a late upload. My stupid air conditioner went out about a couple hours ago, and I've had a repair guy here. Dogs are going crazy and everything here today. So it's been a wild day, but you know me. I'm always going to finish up strong for you guys. So get some rest. I appreciate you tuning in and watching all the way to the end. Have a great rest of your evening. You are the person I work hard for, the ones who watch the stuff all the way to the end. So great job on you. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. If not, we'll see you guys back here tomorrow night. And we'll do it all again tomorrow night, same time, same place. Hopefully a little bit earlier tomorrow night, I might add. All right, guys, be well, be nice to each other, and be here tomorrow, will ya? Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.